The Motivator Show. The internet's most inspirational podcast. Every Saturday morning from 8 to 10 a.m. The Sudans. North Sudan, capital, Khartoum. South Sudan, capital, is Juba. Sudan and South Sudan peace talks to overcome governance, poor and myopic corruption, the control of oil, religion, to promote peace, a new constitution, and the control of land. The many casualties of war, more than 800,000 Sudanese refugees, mainly women and children, lived in Sudan before fighting broke out there last month. North Sudan's warring generals, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, Sudan Armed Forces, General Mohammed Hamadan Daglo, Rapid Support Force leader. The SAF and RSF used to be allies, but that changed after they overthrew a civilian reform government in October 2021. The RSF commander sees himself as Sudan's rightful dictator, while the SAF generals believe they are the true government. Sudan's natural resources. Sudan possesses enormous untapped oil reserves, vast gold deposit to rival South Africa, the world's largest producer of gum, a key ingredient used in food and beverages, pharmaceuticals and cosmetics. Enormous lithium deposit used in batteries worldwide. Extensive arable land, making agriculture a vital sector. The country is known for producing crops such as sorghum, millet, wheat and cotton. The Sudan's natural resources. Weak governments leave both countries vulnerable to foreign interference. Multinational corporations and state-funded entities are actively seeking to secure contracts with minimum tax and minimum regulations. The Sudan's path to peace and prosperity for all. On The Motivator Show, we'll host a panel of North and South Sudan social and political experts to debate how to beat the foreign-inspired bribery, corruption, ethnic division, religious divides, social class elitism, regionalism. It will be done. The Motivator Show. Success is ours for the taking. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. Press the like button and don't forget to leave a comment. Follow us on Facebook. Give us the thumbs up and share with your family and friends. We are also on Instagram and TikTok. Follow us there too. You can listen to us on galaxy.net and also Mixcloud too. The Motivator Show. The internet's most inspirational podcast. Every Saturday morning from 8 to 10 a.m. The Sudans. North Sudan, capital, Khartoum. South Sudan, capital, is Juba. Sudan and South Sudan peace talks to overcome governance, poor and myopic corruption, the control of oil, religion, to promote peace, a new constitution, and the control of land. The many casualties of war, more than 800,000 Sudanese refugees, mainly women and children, lived in Sudan before fighting broke out there last month. North Sudan's warring generals, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, Sudan Armed Forces, General Mohammed Hamadan Daglo, Rapid Support Force leader. The SAF and RSF used to be allies, but that changed after they overthrew a civilian reform government in October 2021. The RSF commander sees himself as Sudan's rightful dictator, while the SAF generals believe they are the true government. Sudan's natural resources. Sudan possesses enormous untapped oil reserves, vast gold deposit to rival South Africa, the world's largest producer of gum, a key ingredient used in food and beverages, pharmaceuticals and cosmetics. Enormous lithium deposit used in batteries worldwide. Extensive arable land, making agriculture a vital sector. The country is known for producing crops such as sorghum, millet, wheat and cotton. The Sudan's natural resources. Weak governments leave both countries vulnerable to foreign interference. Multinational corporations and state-funded entities are actively seeking to secure contracts with minimum tax and minimum regulations. The Sudan's path to peace and prosperity for all. On The Motivator Show, we'll host a panel of North and South Sudan social and political experts to debate how to beat the foreign-inspired bribery, corruption, ethnic division, religious divides, social class elitism, regionalism. It will be done. The Motivator Show. Success is ours for the taking. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. Press the like button and don't forget to leave a comment. Follow us on Facebook. Give us the thumbs up and share with your family and friends. We are also on Instagram and TikTok. Follow us there too. You can listen to us on galaxy.net and also Mixcloud too. The Motivator Show, the internet's most inspirational podcast. Every Saturday morning from 8 to 10 a.m. The Sudans. North Sudan, capital, Khartoum. South Sudan, capital, is Juba. Sudan and South Sudan peace talks to overcome governance, poor and myopic corruption, the control of oil, religion, to promote peace, a new constitution, and the control of land. The many casualties of war, more than 800,000 Sudanese refugees, mainly women and children, lived in Sudan before fighting broke out there last month. North Sudan's warring generals, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, Sudan Armed Forces, General Mohammed Hamadan Dagalo, Rapid Support Force leader. The SAF and RSF used to be allies, but that changed after they overthrew a civilian reform government in October 2021. The RSF commander sees himself as Sudan's rightful dictator, while the SAF generals believe they are the true government. Sudan's natural resources. Sudan possesses enormous untapped oil reserves, vast gold deposit to rival South Africa, the world's largest producer of gum, a key ingredient used in food and beverages, pharmaceuticals and cosmetics. Enormous lithium deposit used in batteries worldwide. Extensive arable land, making agriculture a vital sector. The country is known for producing crops such as sorghum, millet, wheat and cotton. The Sudan's natural resources. Weak governments leaves both countries vulnerable to foreign interference. Multinational corporations and state-funded entities are actively seeking to secure contracts with minimum tax and minimum regulations. The Sudan's path to peace and prosperity for all. On The Motivator Show, we'll host a panel of North and South Sudan social and political experts to debate how to beat the foreign-inspired bribery, corruption, ethnic division, religious divides, social class elitism, regionalism. It will be done. The Motivator Show. Success is ours for the taking. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. Press the like button and don't forget to leave a comment. Follow us on Facebook. Give us the thumbs up and share with your family and friends. We are also on Instagram and TikTok. Follow us there too. You can listen to us on galaxy@fui.net and also Mixcloud too. The Motivator Show. The internet's most inspirational podcast. Every Saturday morning from 8 to 10 a.m. The Sudans. North Sudan, capital, Khartoum. South Sudan, capital, is Juba. Sudan and South Sudan peace talks to overcome governance, poor and myopic corruption, the control of oil, religion, to promote peace, a new constitution, and the control of land. The many casualties of war, more than 800,000 Sudanese refugees, mainly women and children, lived in Sudan before fighting broke out there last month. North Sudan's warring generals, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, Sudan Armed Forces, General Mohammed Hamadan Daglo, Rapid Support Force leader. The SAF and RSF used to be allies, but that changed after they overthrew a civilian reform government in October 2021. The RSF commander sees himself as Sudan's rightful dictator, while the SAF generals believe they are the true government. Sudan's natural resources. Sudan possesses enormous untapped oil reserves, vast gold deposit to rival South Africa, the world's largest producer of gum, a key ingredient used in food and beverages, pharmaceuticals and cosmetics, enormous lithium deposit used in batteries worldwide, extensive arable land, making agriculture a vital sector. The country is known for producing crops such as sorghum, millet, wheat and cotton. The Sudan's natural resources. Weak governments leave both countries vulnerable to foreign interference. Multinational corporations and state-funded entities are actively seeking to secure contracts with minimum tax and minimum regulations. The Sudan's path to peace and prosperity for all. On The Motivator Show, we'll host a panel of North and South Sudan social and political experts to debate how to beat the foreign-inspired bribery, corruption, ethnic division, religious divides, social class elitism, regionalism. It will be done. The Motivator Show. Success is ours for the taking. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. This is the motivator here. This is where we translate our words into action and where success is ours for the taking. Yes. 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 How are you feeling, people? 'Cause I'm feeling fantastic. I'm feeling truly elated. It's the motivator. This is positivity in persona. You've got an idea of today's empowering experience. You know, this is information you'll receive directly from the people's mouths, not filtered through international news agencies or political agendas. Here, direct on the Motivator Show, we hear from the people of Sudan themselves. And this will be a thrilling experience. Truly, truly thrilling. But before I get to that part of the show, what I want to do first of all is give a big thumbs up to Galaxy at Fiwi.net. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. 40 years, a celebration today. 40 years to admitting to the worldwide audience the brainwashing, providing an African perspective on news and current affairs. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the way forward. Yeah. That's the way forward. And I hope, of course, that there is another 40 years, another 100 years of Galaxy Afui.net. In fact, what I will do, let's put it up on the screen, shall we? I'm using slightly different technology today, so bear with me if it's slightly different than usual, but it doesn't matter. Huh? It doesn't matter. What I want to do is just remind you all that this show is intended to both inform and empower, to provide a context in which the people, are able to see and hear authentic accounts from the people on the ground. This is no sugarcoating. This is no attempt to provide an illusion. It is providing raw, unfiltered information. And through that raw, unfiltered information, you have the ability to receive high quality information, and through which you will find you are informed and thereby empowered to make good decisions, to formulate good opinions based upon actual facts and not supposed facts. Oh, yeah, that's the way forward. That is the way forward. But before I get to any of that, as I said, what I just want to do is give a big thumbs up to GalaxyAfui.net. 40 years, well done. And a big thumbs up, of course, to Nana Pakombabai, the visionary leader of GalaxyAfui.net. Oh, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah. Now then, let me now push on, because I want to also, of course, remind you all that this show is devoted to not only informing and empowering you with social and political commentary, okay, but it's also concerned with you, your health. Yeah, your health. Because many of you be aware, I'm an elected official. One of the brutal experiences I have continuously is to receive official government figures. And one aspect of those work, and that's information I receive, is of course related to our health, particularly those from the African heritage communities. Are you born in Africa, born in the Caribbean, born in Britain, or the Americas? I say African heritage communities, regardless of your ethnicity or religious affiliation. And what is clear from the health figures is that we all should be very concerned. And what I want to do is share with you my usual lifestyle messages. This time I've kind of modified it. I've encompassed it in a video. And let's see what you think of this video. A little more detail, but I felt that, and I hope you would agree, that the additional details provide additional context and therefore heighten the emergency that is our health and well-being. I hope you find the following video informative and a basis for your future actions. Here we go. Let's get it going. All right? There we go. The Motivator Show. Success is ours for the taking. Lifestyle messages. We ask that you consider the amount of sugar and salt consumed each day. There is a direct causal link between the overconsumption of sugar and type 2 diabetes, prevalent particularly in the African heritage communities. It is estimated that more than 2 in 4 have either a diagnosed condition of diabetes or an undiagnosed condition of diabetes. Here in Britain, the NHS spends more than £26 billion treating people with diabetes, which is a condition for life. Too much salt in our diet disrupts the natural sodium balance in the body. This causes fluid retention, which increases the blood pressure exerted by the blood against the blood vessel walls, or high blood pressure. The potential impact of too much salt can include enlarged heart muscles, headaches, heart failure, high blood pressure, kidney disease, kidney stones, osteoporosis, stomach cancer, and strokes. Another lifetime condition. We ask that you consider the amount of carbohydrate consumed each day. Typically derived from wheat-based produce such as pasta and other related wheat-based products, and of course root vegetables such as potatoes and the yam. And yes, I did say yams. Excess carbohydrates intake places a large metabolic load on the body. When the body constantly has high levels of blood sugars to deal with over time, this leads to weight gain, poor metabolic health, and an increased risk of heart disease. We ask you to consider the amount of fat that you consume each day. On the screen, you can see raw meat. Clearly, the red meat is meat, but the white streaks you see in the meat is fat. Our bodies need healthy fat for energy and other functions, but too much saturated fat can cause cholesterol to build up in your arteries, in other words, our blood vessels. Saturated fats raise your LDL, or bad cholesterol levels. This can increase your risk of heart disease and neurological strokes. Too much fat is linked to increased risk of obesity or fatness, coronary heart disease, and certain types of cancers, such as breast and colon cancers. On the screen, you see a partially blocked arteries, mainly made up of fatty acids and other ingredients mentioned previously. The blood is being forced through the partial blockage by the heart. Another consequence is, of course, increased hypertension or high blood pressure. Examples of starchy foods include potatoes, bread, pasta, cereals, and rice. Excessive consumption of starch, scientific studies have shown, may cause insulin resistance, in other words, diabetes, may cause skin irritation, many of us will recognize as eczema, may cause gastrointestinal irritation, many of us will recognize these conditions. On the screen, you can see the examples of the consequences of our lifestyle. Excessive consumption of sugar and salt, carbohydrates and fat and starch. You see the young lady and gentleman with the bloated shoulders, bloated chest, bloated abdomen, bloated thighs, and bloated bottoms, or buttocks in polite company. The consequence of our lifestyle. The prevalence of obesity amongst black women in the United Kingdom is significantly higher compared to the general population. Approximately 58% of black women in Britain are classified as obese. This rate is considerably higher than the average obesity rate for women across all ethnicities in the UK, which currently stand at between 30 to 32%. This is a public health emergency. The prevalence of obesity amongst black men in Britain is also notably high. Approximately 38% of black men in the UK are classified as obese. This rate is higher than the average obesity rate for men across all ethnicities in the UK, which is around 27 to 29%. This is a public health emergency. The experts recommend that we should eat fresh, untainted foods, including tomatoes and oranges, melons and beetroot, noriega and avocados, grapes and apples, lemons and cabbages, lettuce and cherries, bananas and cucumber, and pears and onions, sweet corn and pineapples, carrots and cauliflower, garlic and sweet pepper, lemons and many other fruits and vegetables, which are untainted and are good for you. The experts recommend that we should ensure that we consume between 2 to 3 litres of water per day. It does depend upon your height and your mass. You see on the screen a young man drinking his water, and a young lady enjoying her water. The advice given to you about our lifestyle will not mean anything to you unless you exercise. To exercise for life. You see the young lady with her weights, pumping her weight. You see the mature gentleman running with his headphones in with a smile on his face. You see a young lady running up and down those stairs. Oh yeah, that is real exercise. You see the young man pushing up and down with his push-ups. This is exercise. Our bodies need exercise. It is important for us always to consider our mental and spiritual health. If you have concerns about your mental health, please seek out professional advice or speak out to those you most trust. I trust that they will seek out the right advice and support for you. And of course, as human beings, we are truly spiritual entities. It is important to speak to your spiritual advisors. The Motivator Show. Success is ours for the taking. And of course, the last string of text there, we need to translate these words into action, because it's through action you judge yourself and others. I commend these lifestyle messages to you, and I hope that you find within yourselves to think carefully about what you eat, how you exercise, and how you take care of your mental and spiritual health. I commend these messages to you. And I want to thank so many of you who have responded over the past years that I've been providing these very simple, straightforward lifestyle messages. And those of you who've transformed your health outlook, or indeed those of you who come together in common aim and common purpose, and as a result have together improved your health prospects. And of course, what I'm minded to remind you all of a wonderful group of particularly African peoples from right across the continent, from South Africa to Nigeria, and from Ghana to Somalia, and from Somalia to Jamaica, and from Jamaica, of course, to Sudan, who've come together in common aim and common purpose and are exercising together. What I want to do is commend to you the organization. They call themselves the Countdown Organization, an impressive group of people who've gone beyond the usual barriers of religion, ethnicity, class, and so on. Oh yeah, and understood coming together in common aim and common purpose benefits not only the individual, it benefits the whole family, the communities that make up who we are as a communities. Oh yeah, I commend to you the Countdown Organization. Watch them exercise together. Watch them now. Here we go.
Cheese. Famous. Hello, 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 hello. You get one life on leave, me self get one life on leave. Why we not go use am gladdy and enjoy the time? Palava no dey finish, time me no dey wait nobody. Now why I dey try for always get am nice every day and night? This one way we all fend we safe, now nobody own. You want to eat with too much, we go down you belly, now you young. And the balance where you go die left for all the money on. So why for the pity yourself? Tell him to car where you let buy am. If you see finance where you call it Bilam. You meet up woman where you let piano. Yanam. And if you let me man for keep am. Want them more. The food where you feel for it, some for eat am. Eat am. That fine la power where you let na for buy am. Entire more. And if you baby love you back love 'em. But if you love them all now, you not for left 'em. Want them more. Cause nobody know what you do tomorrow old. So every day of my life they are old. I fasting enjoyment stay go. All I'm for for yourself. Nobody love you past yourself. All man they fight for yourself. Now why I know they allowed with you other man they panting. Away. The joy away, the smile away. Oh no, no make nobody take your peace away. The joy away, the smile away. Oh no, every day. I see they also work for the pay. They like Lamboku on a small cage. Land for the loose body 110. Not to money, not to gently. No money make not a man. As long as you get waiting, you they eat. Land for the loose body 110. This one way we all fend we safe, now nobody own. You want to eat with too much, we go down you belly, now you young. Get the balance where you go die left, now all the money on. So why for the pity you say for? Tell the motor car where you let buy 'em. If you see finance where you call it Bilam. You meet up woman where you let piano. Yanam. And if you let the man na for keep 'em. Want them more. The food where you feel for it na for eat 'em. That fine la power where you let na for buy 'em. Entire more. And if you baby love you back love 'em. love them. But if you love them all now, you not forever. Want them more, cause nobody know what's tomorrow all. So every day of my life they are all. A fasting enjoyment stay go. Now for land for care for yourself. Nobody love you pass you yourself. All man they fed for himself. Oh. Now why I know they allowed with the other man they can't take me peace away. Away, me joy away. Away, me smile away. Away, oh no no, no make nobody take you peace away. Away, me joy away. Away, me smile away. Away, oh no no, oh away. Away,
Whoa, huh? Wow. I just love to watch them exercise together. Common aim and common purpose, defying religious divide, defying ethnic divide, defying class divide, defying education divide, coming together in common aim and common purpose. Your health is truly your wealth. Well done, well done, well done. And I know this is happening right across Britain and indeed beyond. These are examples what is possible when you have a shared vision, a shared purpose. Taking care of your health is the highest form of wealth. Oh gosh, why I love them. And they're holding a wonderful sports day next Saturday. Oh, well, I'll tell you more next Saturday. I'm going to meet up with them, interview individuals, and you'll see it'll be a wonderful occasion. Oh, yeah. I can always get excited when I'm speaking to members of the Countdown organization. That diversity is their strength. Okay, now a few more announcements before I get into the main theme of today's show. And today's show will truly be an inspirational experience. So what I'm going to do now, if I can get this to work without any problem, first of all, I want to give light to one of my favorite organizations, and you understand why. That is, of course, the National Association of Black Supplementary Schools, or NABS. These are individuals, adults if you like, in the community who've come together to support the next generation, our children if you like, from 0 to 30, to provide facilities for them for both academic studies, cultural studies, leisure, and of course, for them to develop their characters. Yeah. The supplementary school system across Britain has been a vital part in ensuring the foundations of the African-related communities, if you like, yeah, whether coming from the Caribbean or from the continent, born here in Britain or Europe. An outstanding organization coming together in common aim and common purpose. And if you run such a facility aimed at young people, please ensure you are registered with the National Association of Black Supplementary Schools. You can go to their website, which is www.nabss.org.uk, nabss.org.uk, or you send an email to the inspired brother Nyieer at info@nabss.org.uk, or you can contact him in the UK, it's 07958 348 558. I repeat, if you're in the UK, it's 07958 348 558. Brother Nyieer is an inspired individual, one who I have got to say I always have time for. He's an example of what is possible with common aim and common purpose, with a clear vision. And it's not just chat. This is doing. Translating our words into action, because that ultimately is how we are judged. I also, of course, want to remind you that the PNP UK, let me put up the correct thing for you. Here we go. PNP UK are, of course, continue to raise money as a result of the Hurricane Beryl that impacted the Caribbean, particularly Grenada and Jamaica. It is an important initiative. They have raised hundreds of pounds thus far, and they continue to raise money because there are devastated communities in Jamaica and Grenada whose lives have still remained devastated. It hasn't gone away. The devastation remains. And of course, these are countries that rely very much on the diaspora communities to give support, give generously from their heart, so that those in the islands can live a reasonable standard of living. It's important that if you are able to give to the fund, please do so. And I repeat the details. In response to the Hurricane Beryl disaster, the P&P UK have established a disaster relief fund. Okay, you can give generously, please, to the People's National Party UK. It sounds like a political party, but it's not. There's a political aim, most certainly, but its primary objective is social and social support for all peoples here in the United Kingdom. Their bank details are as follows: NatWest Bank, sort code 600802, account number 2986123, and in the transfer, please put in DRF Beryl. In other words, Disaster Relief Fund Beryl. So we know exactly where that money is to be used. The P&P UK website, of course, is www.pnpuk.com. Or you can email them if you need to contact them at disasterrelief@pnpuk.com. I commend that organization to you as an example of what is possible if you work in common aim and common purpose. That is what we need to do. Work in common aim and common purpose with a higher vision for yourselves and your families, and indeed your community. That's the way forward. Yep. A family that stays together grows together. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I also want to, of course, give light to another organization. And of course, let me bring it up on the screen for you as well. There you are. Another organization who I suppose I've adopted as well. Oh yeah, because these are good people. They're doing good. I've seen the evidence. There is no chicanery here. This is ordinary people working together in common aim and common purpose, and they deserve our support. I assert that they deserve our support. So I want to commend to you the NINAS Secretariat, or NINAS. NINAS, of course, is a combination of peoples in Nigeria who want to create peace so we can create prosperity for all Nigerians. I say again, want to create peace so we can create prosperity for all Nigeria. And these are people primarily of the middle belt, the Yoruba and lower Niger belt areas of Nigeria. In other words, 2/3 of the country come together in common aim and common purpose. If you want to contact the NINAS Secretariat so you can join in their mission to create peace, so you can create prosperity for all Nigerians, you can contact them via their website, which is NINAS Voice, NINASVOICE.org, O-R-G, NINAS Voice, NINASVOICE.org, or you can email them at info@ninasvoice.org. I commend this organization to you. They're an example of what is possible in work in collaboration, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of religious affiliation, regardless of your social class, regardless of your education. Coming together in common aim and common purpose with a shared vision for the future. That is what's possible. I commend the NINAS organization to you, an outstanding example of what is possible on the ground. There's another organization I just want to bring very quickly to your attention. Let me bring it up on the screen for you in a second. There we go. Here's another one for you. Another one. Why am I bringing these organizations before you? Because I've validated and verified that they are delivering. without rancor, without angst, without the feelings of anxiety. They're confident, they're forward-thinking, and they don't have internal prejudices because they understand that is what others use to divide our peoples. Oh yeah, understand this. So those of you who are affected by the Windrush scandal, and there are many hundreds of thousands of people who are encouraged to come to Britain, particularly in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, in order to fill the enormous numbers of jobs that were available here that could not be fulfilled by the local population. So Britain called upon the so-called Commonwealth, the empire as it were, and encourage those people to come to Britain. Oh yeah, under the 1948 Acts, anyone born in the British Empire or the Commonwealth had the same status, legal status, as a person born here in Britain. Oh yeah, keep that in mind. But yet, Britain changed the Immigration Nationality Acts, and as a result, in many cases, have done many of these good people harm. And this is what we call the Windrush scandal. And those of you who are affected by the Windrush scandal, I urge you to make yourself known so the support can be given to you. You can contact the Windrush Legal Advice Clinic at 58 Bank Street, West Midland, WV148ED, or you can email them at info@Windrush Legal Advice Clinic, as it sounds, windrushlegaladviceclinic.com. Or you can phone them directly. In the UK, it's 01902 382 542. I repeat, if you're in the UK, it's 01902 382 542. If you're international, you simply replace +44, and of course, remove the 0. I commend the Windrush Legal Advice Clinic to you. They were an outstanding group of guests when we had them here on the Motivator Show. Outstanding group of people. I commend them to you. I commend them to you. And lastly, many of you would appreciate this one when I bring it up on the screen, because of course, my most favorite international journalist, that is Ndidi Ichiwe. She, of course, represents the vigor, the intelligence, the determination of peoples of Nigeria, committed to create a better future for her grandchildren, committed and unrelenting. And of course, we held a series of episodes focused on Nigeria, and another one will come up next month as well, be assured. But the vision and the hopes for Nigerians, we all must join with Nigerians that they can recreate Nigeria that best suits the needs of the peoples of the current Nigeria. The chief made it clear that a force majeure has been enacted in order that the constitution can be reviewed and reset to meet the needs of the people. But as my guest only a few weeks pointed out, in fact, the agreement in relation to the constitution ran out 2 years ago. So in fact, the constitution is already void. I assert the constitution is already void. So let me bring up a saying by Ndidi. Let me bring it up on the screen for you, because she's such an inspired human being. I just want to bring it up on the screen for you. Here we go. I'm going to bring up on the screen right now for you. Listen to her words, and here we go. And she says, given the state of Nigeria and Africa, I think people haven't yet made the mental link that they are responsible for the kind of existence they hand over to their children. Yeah? Ndidi Iwechu. I'm going to say it again because it's pertinent to my guest in relation to Sudan. Okay? I'm going to say it again. It's relevant to the whole of Africa and the Caribbean. Yeah. Given the state of Nigeria, Africa, or indeed the Caribbean, I think people haven't yet made the mental link that they are responsible for the kind of existence they hand over to their children. Powerful, huh? And we want to make sure, and I know you would all agree with me, that what we hand over to our children is a better state than what we found it. I think you'd all agree that is the way forward. That is what we mutually would agree is a desired outcome. But to do so requires courage, determination, relentlessness, determination, and I'm going to say compassion, an ability to give and take. To those who you might have had petty differences with, you can overcome those differences, because if you come together in common aim and common purpose, you can improve your health, you can improve your political situation, and just importantly, you can improve the economic situation that you live, your family occupy. Therefore, you create peace so you can create wealth for all of your family and communities. It's a simple formula, very, very simple formula, but it means that you cannot stand on your high horse and say, I will not compromise. Because without compromise, without intelligent negotiation, there is no peace. And that means hell, damnation, depression, regression. And that is not what we want. Listen to her words, and listen to her words. Listen to her words. So now, what I want to do is, first of all, before bringing in my guest, I'm going to play the first part of my intro video. And I want you all to pay attention, because this will be the theme for today's international panel. Listen carefully to what these inspired people have to say. But before getting to anywhere near there, I want you to share with me and understand and appreciate why Sudan is an important junction point in Africa, and why we must pay attention to what's happening in Sudan. And after this, I'll then bring in my guest so we can have that discussion with those people of Sudan who've come together in common aim and common purpose. Here we go. The Motivator Show. The internet's most inspirational podcast. Every Saturday morning from 8 to 10 a.m. The Sudans. North Sudan, capital, Khartoum. South Sudan, capital, is Juba. Sudan and South Sudan peace talk to overcome governance, poor and myopic corruption, the control of oil, religion, to promote peace, new constitution, and the control of land. The many casualties of war, more than 800,000 Sudanese refugees, mainly women and children, lived in Sudan before fighting broke out there last month. North Sudan's warring generals, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, Sudan Armed Forces, General Mohammed Hamadan Daglo, Rapid Support Force leader. The SAF and RSF used to be allies, but that changed after they overthrew a civilian reform government in October 2021. The RSF commander sees himself as Sudan's rightful dictator, while the SAF generals believe they are the true government. Sudan's natural resources. Sudan possesses enormous untapped oil reserves, vast gold deposit to rival South Africa, the world's largest producer of gum, a key ingredient used in food and beverages, pharmaceuticals and cosmetics, enormous lithium deposit used in batteries worldwide, extensive arable land, making agriculture a vital sector. The country is known for producing crops such as sorghum, millet, wheat and cotton. First, Sudan's natural resources. Weak governments leave both countries vulnerable to foreign interference. Multinational corporations and state-funded entities are actively seeking to secure contracts with minimum tax and minimum regulation. First, Sudan's path to peace and prosperity for all. On The Motivator Show, we'll host a panel of North and South Sudan social and political experts to debate how to beat the foreign-inspired bribery, corruption, ethnic division, religious divides, social class elitism, regionalism. It will be done. The Motivator Show. Success is ours for the taking. And I think you agree. Success is ours for the taking. So now I'll begin the panel of experts, social commentators from Sudan, who will share with us some of their experiences and their analysis of the situation in Sudan. And this is from the people's mouths, not filtered through international news agencies and others. Okay, let's bring them in. Let's hope this works without any pay. There we go. Let's bring them all in. Let's bring them all in. Oh, there we go. I think they're all coming in now, all joining now. Oh, there you are. There you are. I believe we've got them all in at the moment. No cameras are on, but that's fair enough. Can I just check who we've got on the line? Can I go to the name I've got under the South Sudan People's Charter? Can I ask you just to identify yourself? Good morning. Can you unmute yourself? I see that your mic is not connected. You haven't given permission to your mic. That's right. And the same applies to Hafsi. Your mic is not connected either. You could connect your mic. Can I ask again the representative for? Oh, there you are. We've got it now. Oh,
hi. Can you hear me?
Good morning. How are you? How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank you for the lovely presentation. It was awesome.
Thank you very much.
You captured everything in a very brief time span. Well done.
Thank you very much. It's taken a while to do so, as you know. Okay, we've got our second guest present, Afsi, and let's see if we can get Abdul now. Abdul, Abdul, can you hear us? And is your camera working?
He's muted.
You're still muted, yes.
Abdul Malik is muted, but I am not. Hafiz, I am.
Okay, we can hear you as well, but we can't hear Abdul at the moment. Abdul, if you could unmute yourself. If I get him to unmute, I'll ask you to unmute. Let's see if we can get him to unmute. If not, we'll press on, but I'm conscious of time, and our time will fly by. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming along today. This is a really important occasion for peoples outside of Sudan, across Africa, the Caribbean and Europe and Americas, to hear from you, the people of Sudan, what is actually happening on the ground. I'm going to ask you, Justin, if you could just introduce yourself, the organization that you belong to, and maybe you could introduce the other guests as well, just to help me along. Please go ahead.
Okay, lovely. Good morning, everybody. Again, we're delighted to be on the Mr. Motivator show. We were here, probably myself and Mr. Hafiz, over a year ago, and a lot has happened. And I'm glad that Councillor Martin has called us back. Sudan continues to be a trouble spot, both the Sudans, north and south. We are bystanders to some extent. We could call us influencers, we could call us concerned citizens. But again, the enormity of those problems, which to some extent have overlaps and have mirrored themselves to a great extent, still continues to be a problem. I think Sudan, from its inception as Africa's first independent state, has been in political turmoil from day one. Wars have happened, and wars have plagued the day in the sense that the country has never really had any breathing space. Although South Sudan became independent, and Sudan remains, Sudan also hasn't been stable, and unfortunately 16 months ago, a war broke out, another power struggle, as we saw also in 2013, 2 years after South Sudan independence. There was a power struggle.
Yes.
I come from the southern part, which is now a country called South Sudan. My friends here, Mr. Hafiz and Mr. Abdul Malik, are from North Sudan, which is called Sudan. They are experts in their field. They are people who have lived their lives in the crisis, and if you needed anybody to tell you what it is, they're the best people to actually guide you and perhaps also project likely solutions as Sudan continues. So I think that's what I can say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a really powerful introduction, and I appreciate you. Thank you. I'd like to go to our comrades in arms, our comrades and friends from North Sudan. I noted in the intro, of course, that the warring generals who overcame a legitimate government and are now warring for power control. Ultimately, of course, this is to do with money. Okay. Which of you both would wish to go first? I'd like you, it's useful to have a summary, because I recognize Sudan has many ethnic groups, and the last time you were here, we talked about the Darfur region and the events in the Darfur region of North Sudan. But I'm now interested, and I've now completed extensive research, that these warring generals are threatening the very future of North Sudan. But you give us a sense of what it's like now for peoples who are caught up in these warring generals' fracas. Who wishes to go first, Abdul or Hafiz? Who wish to go first? Which of you is first?
Abdul Malik, you can go.
Please, go ahead, please. Good morning to you, Abdul. Yeah. Oh, we can't hear you. Your sound. A second. Yeah, your sound is. It looks like you're connected. Your sound doesn't seem to be working.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, we can. Yeah, but
right.
you've got to speak up, though. I think just speak up. Turn up your volume if possible.
Yeah. Well, I will. Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. Yes. Thank you first for having us and discussing such an issue at this specific time of all these atrocities going in Sudan, all these problems, really unprecedented problems at the moment. Yes. Your questions as to relating to what is currently happening really will be completely out of place if we just isolate it from the past of Sudan and the conflicts going on, all those issues. So to have a proper sense, I would just have a very brief background to the scene, because we won't understand what's happening now is not something abrupt, and it's nothing that happened out of the blue. It is something that has a lot to do with the past.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is Sudan became independent in 1956 officially. In reality, 1953 as a kind of self-government as for some time until the official independence in 1956. The British left us, and we have to talk about the legacy of colonialism.
Yes.
Which
Always
actually,
the British, yeah? Always the British.
yeah. Well, we are an ex-British colony. We're
Yes.
not
Indeed.
ex-French colony. So but actually, the partition of Africa has a lot to do with our all problems, not all African countries.
Yes. Yes.
So the partitioning left us with a legacy of countries with lots of boundaries, conflicts, as the colonial powers actually draw their borders, regardless of the ethnic structure, the ethnic makeup of all African countries.
Indeed.
So we do, at one time, we were bordering 9 countries, and with the 9 countries, you have lots of shared tribes in between the two. So the British also left us with a economic crisis as developing, and we all know that the British came actually not to enlighten Africans. In fact, they came pursuing their own interest.
Yes.
And particularly economic interests and resources.
Yes.
And for such things, they created development in certain areas that they were interested in. Post-colonial state was actually burdened with a lot of legacy or the problem left by the British to solve. First of all, a kind of a semi-continent, not a country.
Indeed.
Sudan is not a kind of an ethnically homogeneous country. It's so diverse. We can call it as a little continent by itself. And as such, it posed a lot of responsibility for the national government to deal with such a huge country with so diverse things. And unfortunately, our national governments failed to observe this diversity, and accordingly, they failed also to handle all that is required in order to have a unified country with so diverse ethnic, economic, geographical, historic backgrounds. So from this thing appeared this, and I would say, yes, Sudan is full of, as you said, so many kind of diversities. The economic diversity, ethnic diversity, cultural diversity, religious diversity, all types of diversity that can come into anybody's mind while they're in Sudan, language and so on. But as I said, the main or the root cause of all our problems remained as that we never decided that the Sudan with its borders to be like that. It was the decision of the colonial powers.
Yes.
And the second thing, all the problems, if you look at Darfur, joined Sudan actually in 1916 rather than 1898 when the British came in. So it was added to Sudan. And there were so many problems relating to these kind of ethnic diversities. It doesn't have to be a problem if it was actually managed by rational, sincere leadership after the independence. And unfortunately, our leadership in Sudan ever since let us down. And this war is a continuation of this failure. What's happening now is not just happening now. It happened, and it has been building up. And it should have been done a lot before. But unfortunately, or actually fortunately, Sudanese people with their peaceful attitudes, with their very good kind of coherence things, they delayed this war for up to now. So that is the background I put here,
yes.
and it will be a good start for all of us to start the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. That's beautifully contextualized this interview. If I may go to Afeez, and thank you, Adil, to yourself, what would you say in setting out the circumstances North Sudan finds itself in? How would you contextualize the current situation?
I think, thank you for having us. Thank you
Pleasure.
very much. This is the second time we actually contribute to this very important discussions regarding what's happening in Sudan. Actually, you asked a question about the magnitude of the war and its impact on people and Sudan. This is not the first war. I think the first war started in 1955, just before Sudan independent. And as Ustad Abdul Malik said, it's to do with the political elites and the way they actually manage the country after its independent from the British colonial government. I think what happened is Sudan is diverse in terms of ethnic, tribal, geographical, and everything. But I think the elites are not recognizing that. And as we said, Sudan actually the Sudan, which was born before the secession of South Sudan, was actually established in 1821. The British Turkish colonial and that the time when this Sudan. It's a group of sultanate. It's a group of kingdoms being joined together without any consensus, without any discussion, without any negotiation, without any agreement from all these parties. Different tribes, different kingdoms being joined together and then form this state which is called Sudan. And this is why the fundamental issues of this country, recognition of diversity, definition of identity, the issue of religion, and all these issues not being properly discussed and is not being reached a consensus on which they can build a constitution on it. Until now, Sudan have independence for 70 years. We never have a permanent constitution because we haven't actually discussed that. We all just from a short period of democracy, then military coup, then democracy, then military coup, and just certain political elites actually, taking the government without actually addressing the underlying causes of problems of Sudanese problem. The difference between this war and the war which started in 1955, and then we had a break for 11 years from 72 to 83, and then we have war started, ended with the peace agreement, comprehensive peace agreement, which is signed on the 9th of January in 2005, and that led to separation of South Sudan, and is supposed to address also problem with the two areas, Blue Nile and the Nuba Mountain. They failed because before the end of the interim period of the comprehensive peace agreement, then the war started again in Blue Nile and the Nuba Mountain, and it still now continue. Before that, the war in 2003, war started in Darfur for the same reason. People are, this uneven development. People believe they cannot find themselves in this state. They don't have the fair share of power and share of wealth and all these problems. And this problem is not built because there's certain political elites inherited Sudan from the British colonial era. They want Sudan to be designed to serve their interests, not the interests of the wider Sudanese people. And that is the core problems which we are now in the set problem. The difference of this war, the other war used to be in the Sudanese peripheries, and people in the center are not actually feeling it directly. Yes, there is feeling of affecting the budget, the cost of war, but now this war is in the main town. It started with Khartoum and then moved to central Sudan, the area where the center of power is there. And that's why this war is totally different. And it is very devastating in terms of consequences, loss of life, loss of property, destruction of infrastructure. That is the difference. And I think it's important to resolve it. I think this is also an opportunity for Sudanese to address the underlying causes, to have a good foundation for the state, to start a genuine discussion. Actually, how can we build a state which is stable, which is recognizing the diversity, which is addressing all the grievances, and then end this vicious cycle of war, peace, incomplete peace, war, incomplete peace, and unstable state, causing problem not only for Sudanese but for the regional for the region and also international.
Thank you, thank you. And I'm going to come back to you both in a moment because there are some obvious questions I need to put to you. But if I may go back to the representative from South Sudan, just then, okay? And let's ask you in terms of the evolution of that country. The constitution, and I've seen evidence of your work, which is outstanding pieces of work. Can you tell us how that has progressed and how confident you feel that such a constitution can be implemented in South Sudan? Then I want to go back to the north, but it's really important. Please go ahead, Justin. Oh, you're muted. We can't hear you.
I just want to thank both Hafiz and Mr. Abdul Malik for what they've articulated, really, because the Sudan is has been in perpetual turmoil because of its, whether we could blame it on colonialism, we could also blame it on the elite that took over power, as they said. And there is a real quest for people to have the kind of governance system that will take care of each and everybody, that will actually recognize the diversity and the beauty that is the Sudan.
Yes.
Just before I talk about the People's Charter, the second war, because as Hafiz said, there was an initial war in 1955, just before the independence of the Sudan, and it was a secessionist movement because South Sudanese felt aggrieved, like the Darfurians, as Abdul Malik said. They fell engulfed into the new Sudan, or the Sudan that emerged, without any rights, without any sense of proper representation, without any sense of being recognized as co-citizens. So with that war, obviously lasted for 17 years, and a peace agreement was signed, a compromise of some type, which was again betrayed and abused and obligated. Then a second war ensued in 83, led by primarily South Sudanese, but with the view of wanting to mobilize all the marginalized, oppressed people of the Sudan, predominantly the indigenous communities. In as much as the war raged on for 21 years, the idea was to fight for Sudan, a new Sudan on a new basis, and a Sudan that recognizes the historical and contemporary diversity, the dynamics of being African, as well as being having an Arab percentage of people, or people of Arab origin, acknowledging the religious diversity, and also wanting to address the historical grievances. So the articulation that the SPLM proposed or projected for the Sudan, had it been adopted, surely the Sudan could have remained one country, and it could have probably solved a lot of these issues. Unfortunately, because it was led by people who are perceived to be marginal, who are perceived not to represent the Sudanese, the indigenous African have never been recognized as Sudanese or as having equal rights. So in the end, South Sudan left. But the same crises, the same identity problems of the Sudan have pursued, and hence why there's a war at the moment. And as Hafiz said, it has never really been felt by the center. The center is now feeling it. And the center of authority, with the arrogance that they've had, they control everything. And they projected the country in a very mono-ethnic way, that it's purely an Arab country. The Sudanese are all meant to be Arabs. In their diversity, as black as I am, I'm supposed to have been an Arab. So all these dilemmas means, as Abdul Malik said, that it is an endemic problem that has never been solved. And now, if we're to also say that looking around us in the region, the Horn of Africa has also been terribly troubled. Ethiopia has been in crisis, Uganda to some extent with power struggles. Chad and Libya have had their own issues. But if we focus mainly in the Horn of Africa, Somalia, we've seen there's been issues of governance, really, and how we manage diversity, how we address the historical construct of the nation that we know has never been really made for our own purpose. And if anything, our modern elites have literally entered the feet of our former colonizers and have run the countries in a very similar way, where the elites literally control the resource, and there are no services. There's no real citizenship or stakeholdership in any way. And I think if we're to look at that as the problem, that Sudan has never had the government it deserves, and hence why South Sudan broke away, and hence why there's a current war And clearly, as we're talking, the Sudan could splinter, could be balkanized into different nations if they're not careful. And as Hafiz said, we need to find a way to really correlate the historical mishaps, but also to look at ways to project a Sudan where everybody needs to feel comfortable. And I think it can only come through consensus. It can happen through dialogue. It has to really be a soul-searching effort across the board. We in South Sudan, although we became independent, we are mirror image to some extent of the Sudan. We don't know any other system, and in a way, we've tried to copy what we've seen in the Sudan, where whoever has the military arms control things, and this has been the reality of the Sudan from 1958. The army interfered in politics, and they've never left politics. Every time the politicians bicker, they take it to the army, and the army takes over. In our case, obviously, the military element liberated the country, and they've put on civilian clothing, but still, it's very much a militaristic system, and there's a proliferation of arms across the board. Stability has not been seen as yet, and again, the power dynamics are there, where if I have arms and I'm forced out of power, I'll pick up my arms and fight, and then they ethnicize these conflicts. So what we're saying in the People's Charter really is that we've inherited these nations, but we have never really defined them in our own image. We've never really sat down to have this dialogue. What connects the people of, if we use the South Sudan as an example, there are 64 ethnic communities, if not 70. Many of them have overlaps. They have historical origins and culturally one. For cultural uniformity, as Sheikh Anton Duop says, from Cairo to Cape Town, is a reality. So our people are very close, but yet when we try to address political issues, the elites will always use anything at their disposal, and they often divide us instead of looking for commonalities. So the dilemma is really is that we have a country, but yet we don't have the political system or the political awareness or the political visions to mold these people together. And again, because of the how the country came into being, and how elites have copied what others are doing in other places, where we use ethnicity as a card, where we use our numerical advantage, where we use the resource of the state to entrench ourselves. So the Charter looks to see what really has happened in the Sudan as a whole, what has happened to the South since, and what has happened in our neighborhood and Africa in general. And how can Africans really, if we're as diverse as we are, the Sudan had around 250 tribes, but the systems there have never really presented the multicultural Sudan as it should have been. Equally in South Sudan today, if we're not careful, we will also create ethnic dominance or tribal dominance or some kind of elite power packaging and alliances against the will of all of us, without really any peace dividends or any right or social contract for the people. So we're looking to see social contracts and need to really look at a constitution that recognizes the diversity of these countries and rolls out an equitable society where, whether you're from a minority or big community, the good thing in the South Sudan, we have religious tolerance, but ethnic coexistence is still an issue. And again, nepotistic systems emerge when resources are there and there's contestation at the state. Thank you.
Thank you. And what you're again reminding us all of is the capacity of African peoples to find peace. You know, what I'm struck by all of you, each of your contributions today, and it is interesting. One, and I think Abdul began by noting, of course, that Sudan isn't the ordinary country. It's really a subcontinent on its own. Of incredible size. But none of you have noted the incredible natural wealth that is the Sudan's. And that natural wealth attracts multinational corporations whose asset base are larger than many countries in Africa. But they want to fully exploit the incredible wealth that is Sudan. You know, when I looked at the oil reserves, the gold deposits, look at the lithium traits you have in the country, those are worth tens of trillions of dollars over the coming centuries. Therefore, the international community, as a vested interest, I'm going to assert, to sow divisions amongst yourselves. Okay? It is interesting. It is really interesting to note you're blaming yourselves for the decline, but actually, the very construct of the nation, and I think you've all accepted, was designed to create these conflicts. But it's been exacerbated by multinational corporations and indeed some national interest which are bearing down on the nation, which I want to come to. And if I may, just go back to Abdul, and I want to thank you, Abdul, for your wonderful contextualization, particularly of North Sudan. I want to now just take it further. But I know my audience are interested in a path to peace. We have these two generals who are being financed by foreign interest. Otherwise, they could not afford to buy the arms and equipment they possess or live in the lifestyle they can't live in. It's foreign interest. So my question to you is this. Will the generals listen to reason, or does it require a third intervention from the people to force them to listen to reason? What do the generals really want? Is it total control, or are they prepared to work in collaboration with others?
Thank you again. I'm inclined actually to look at the issue of the Sudan, or the crisis of Sudan, which is a very, very big crisis. Not as a matter of blaming ourselves. I know it has, and I mentioned from the beginning, we had a colonial legacy, and it has impact. But I don't want to follow our natural or normal African attitude of whinging and mourning, or talking about the colonial. What have we done ourselves to come out of the situation we are criticizing? That is one issue we didn't do. So I believe the generals and all those things, they came out of the original failure, I said before. It's an issue of governance.
Agreed.
The issue of governance, and I will come back to the resources, but it is part of the failure of our leadership, the national leadership, ever since independence to date, is that they have never even thought of Sudan as a potential leader in Africa, a leading country with all its resources, human resources as well as animal resources and natural resources, all those sorts of things. And I know we are victims of all also these kind of issues. I know it attracts a lot of people who are interested in looting our resources. And yes, previously it was because of the traditional colonialism. Now we do have the new colonialism, as you said, these new companies, international firms, the interests and countries and so on, all running, and they do. And I think if we are talking about what's going on, I don't want us to be misled by the media that we've got two choices, either the Rapid Support Forces or SAF, which is Sudan Armed Forces.
Yes.
They are both against our revolution, against our interest, and their struggle has nothing to do with the Sudanese people interest. Their struggle is actually for them and those who they represent.
Indeed, indeed.
And that's how I see it. And as you said, how do we put ourselves together and get out of this situation? That needs first unifying our vision. Our vision is up to now is just, I think, distorted by this kind of media. Particularly the Arab media is doing a lot of mess. It's doing a lot of mess and just putting us in that situation of one choice, either this or that. But what I
may interrupt you, forgive me for interrupting, and I get that. The question is, what will the people do in order to settle the matter between these two warring armies? What will the people do?
Yeah, that is exactly what I started to say. Is actually first we need to this kind of just stop this kind of mysticism, this kind of not knowing exactly where to stand. Where to stand is not this or that. Is actually we try to build an anti-war coalition.
Indeed. Yes.
And we all have to understand that we can defeat those military forces in the army and in the militia. They're both not impossible to beat. We can beat them, and we can win the battle against them for the sake of Sudan stability, and Sudan future prosperity and progress. And I think that can be done. If we do that, we need peace first, and we need serious negotiation between all our ethnic diversities to sit and look at the common interests that we can do to build a Sudan, which is actually we deserve and we are capable of doing. But we have to stop the war first. That's our priority now.
Well said, well said. Because I've been studying Sudanese people. You are a quite remarkable people. I have to say to you, the intellect that I discovered amongst your people is quite remarkable, given all the facilities that we have here in London. If that were given to the majority of Sudanese people, Sudan will be a truly multi-trillion-dollar economy. An incredible people, quite remarkable people, the origins of humankind, you know? When I look at you, I see the origins of humankind. It is such a, anyway. But I will say this though, and before I go to Afis, I did want to just follow up on your details, of course. Remember, much of what we see around us is a result of good people not asserting their will, so that only good and positive outcomes are the outcomes. You know, it's the, and I wonder, are the people, in your view, feeling that they are not powerful enough to overcome these external forces who are funding these armies? Are they feeling, and do they appreciate the importance of them coming together? Because you've made the statement, but what you haven't done is indicated that this is actually happening. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, I think this is a very good question. I think the reason why we actually allow foreigners to infiltrate Sudan and exploit our resources and actually loot our Sudan resources, or let us fight each other because their interest is because we have agents. Sudanese agent for, I call them agent for destruction of the country. And these agents are political elites. If these countries who are, or companies, multinational companies who actually invest, try to come and invest in our, and steal our resources, if they can't find an agent inside this country from the political elites or actually support them or help them, they'll never do that. And that is the question here. I've been asked this question in a conference just a couple of days ago. And why we allowing, because now this was the ongoing war, is being funded and financed and actually motivated by certain countries, supporting each side of the war. Because the Rapid Support Force and Sudan Armed Forces, they used to be one. They used to be one, fighting people in Sudanese peripheries because they asked for their rights. And instead of actually responding to their demand in equitable and right way, they mobilize these forces to fight them. And that is why we are in this position now, in position of fighting. And I think because of that, and they create this Rapid Support Force, they give them mountains of gold mines.
Correct.
The gold mines are behind this, and these countries, all of them are coming, United Arab Emirates one side, Egypt from other side, and all these countries, they came because there is resources, there is gold, and now the Sudanese gold being exported from other countries with a brand of these other countries' name and those of Sudan. And Sudanese people are not actually benefiting from just 2% or 3% of this. That is the main reason. But But the problem is we have agent, and this agent, and the problem, if we look at the Sudanese political parties, since they are established, they are either pro-Egyptian or pro-British, because they are being established, and an agent to inherit in the colonial power. And actually, they are serving the interest of the colonial power more the interest of the country and of its people. That is our problem.
Agreed. It is quite evident, you note in the intro video that one of the objectives of these multinationals, other national interest, is to extract the wealth of Sudan with paying minimum or no tax whatsoever to the government and with minimum regulations. In other words, they can destroy the land and just leave it. Okay? That's their objective. No interest in the land, no interest in the people. Question, of course, and if I may now go to you, Justin, in South Sudan. You said that there's a potential for South Sudan to regress and simply repeat the mistakes of the past. Now, I was surprised when you said that, to be honest with you, but I've been extremely impressed by noting the evolution of your charter, the future constitution. Okay. It's quite evident that these are ordinary people coming together in common aim and common purpose with a clear vision for the future. Okay. And I may have said to you previously, if only a fraction of what is currently put together is implemented on the ground, that will be truly transformative. This work is important work, and you would have heard my intro to your interview. I quoted a quote by an international journalist, a Nigerian international journalist, Ndidi Ichekwe, and where she connects the vision that often ordinary people today haven't fully connected, that they're preparing the way for the next generation. Okay? And therefore, failure is not an option. So my question to you is this: how confident are you now, bearing in mind that you have to give in order to gain far more in return, that mentality, that philosophy is spread throughout South Sudan so that we can actually see material progression, both in politics, wealth distribution, and indeed the ambitions of the young? You tell us, how is it progressing, and are you confident of success?
Thank you so much.
Not much pressure. Go on.
It is a strong question. I'm an optimist, but I really think we need a critical mass, and a critical mass can be arrived at when probably things are rock bottom. Mm-hmm. I wish the same for the Sudan, the old Sudan, or what we call North Sudan. Mm-hmm. What they've gone through now, they've never seen it. War has always been peripheral. War has always been said to be the problem of the South, the problem of Darfur, the problem of the Nuba. It has never been the problem of the Sudan or the center. Mm-hmm. Now, if it so happened people arrive at such a juncture, then it really needs consensus. It needs soul searching. It needs us to also reflect, as Abdul Malik said earlier, to look at the past and what has it taught us, to look at the present and where it's likely to take us. Mm-hmm. So if we're to avoid total disintegrations of both North and South Sudan as countries, I think really we need to revamp our concept of the state and really re-image it in our own image. But at the same time, to really look at what are the issues. Why has the Sudan been stagnant? Mm-hmm. Why has the South Sudan had so much promise, but yet is regressing? These mm-hmm. issues can only be addressed by maybe projecting what we said to be a charter. A charter in our case is obviously we said we wanted to formulate an inclusive, both socially and politically, construct of a nation where basically yes. People are made to have faith in what they have. In the case of South Sudan is new, So we can definitely fix it. In the case of the Sudan, is older, but it could equally be fixed if they really genuinely have a dialogue. A dialogue for us in the South would be, and I said to you last night that probably in wanting to liberate South Sudan, we've lost something close to 5 million people. In the
5 million.
the
Oh my
first war,
gosh.
we lost around 2.5, and probably in the second war, probably 3. Say first war 2 million, and in the second war about 3 million. Now, all of this was not in vain. So surely the onus is on our leaders to remember not only the colleagues who they left in the bush, but the burden of history that rests on their shoulders.
Yes.
Now, if it so happened that resources are an issue and the contestation of power and who controls resources, and as you rightly said, external meddling are a problem, one of the ways to do this is to literally embrace yourself, surround yourself with your people. If you're murdered today, many more of the same person will emerge.
Absolutely.
That this is what the people want. And I feel in most of our countries, elites are very disconnected. There's a huge disparity between rulers and their people. And we're yet to see in the Sudan and in South Sudan a government that, as Mansour Khalid once said, that our people deserve. Our people deserve a governance system that prioritizes them, that looks to invest the resources in them, that looks to also protect the interests of the country. But in most cases, if my interest is challenged, in the case of the 2 generals in the Sudan now, or even in the case of some of our leaders in South Sudan, then we will throw the whole thing in the bin. And I think really the Charter wants to have a discussion, wants to project the likelihood of joint thinking in terms of what we think is the vehicle to take us out of this. And just to quote maybe two projections or 2 things that we think are very critical in this whole process, is what we say, for instance, there's got to be a consensus and a critical sense of soul searching to really arrive at what we want for our country. What does it mean? How does it represent me as Group A to Group D to Group F? And I think in most cases our countries have not really addressed this. And again, if we look at the beauty of African cultures and African belief systems and way of life, we're very tolerant, we're very communal,
Yes.
we look
Very
after
much
each
so.
other.
Very much
And
so.
we must have in our constitutions, and we're about to have an Ubuntu Alliance conference, and perhaps we could do it
Beautiful.
with you, where if my neighbor is not at peace, I am not at peace. If he suffers or she suffers, I suffer. We've got to look and take care of each other. And I really think this is what we need in our political systems. Our constitutions should be based on our shared values, our communal and commonwealth of all our total sum of who we are, and that's lacking. Yes, we can borrow ideas, political ideas, we can borrow other cultures, but where is ours in all of this? And I think one of the ways that the Charter wants to do this is to celebrate the beauty that is in the 64 communities. And when we do that and we borrow something important from one group, we can also find something from another group. And when we build that, we can definitely arrive at solutions for that will continue to keep us tolerant and coexisting and give us the prosperity we need. If I know the minorities of our communities are looked after,
yes,
and their rights are protected, then I know that a poor person would be looked after. I know a disadvantaged or disabled person would be looked after, and these are not happening. Resources are being misspent. There's a lack of transparency on what our resources are spent on. And all these deals are being done. And what is so sad is that all of these countries help each other. There's literally an alliance of cartels supporting each other from one country to another and backed by whoever.
Yes. And you said it so beautifully. And I've got to tell you, we all smiled when you said Ubuntu peace, You see, we have it within, it's in your gift to find that peace, to find within the ethnic diversity that is Sudan. In fact, epitomizes Africa, if I may say so. Okay, there are peoples who live alongside each other for centuries, for thousands of years in peace. But we know we are able to. Civilization emerged from Africa first, before it spread across the world. It's an amazing fact that amazing number of Africans forget. Civilizations emerged in Africa first. Okay. So with that in mind, you've begun to weave a path to peace so you can create prosperity for all people of Sudan. And this is the theme of today's show. Because what I don't want is for, and I see in some of the commentary on the chat at the moment, that there's a feeling that foreign involvement is bad and so on and so on. It can be bad, it can also be good and aid men well. Abdul, if I may come to you, I've heard from our representative, if I may say so, Justin, from South Sudan. Okay, I'm now interested in the North Sudan. And before coming on, I'm looking at your background and which part of the Sudan you come from. Maybe you could share with us of the peoples you come from, of their practice of Ubuntu peace. Okay, how do your immediate clan, your immediate people, share resources with their neighbors? Give us illustrate for us what is happening on the ground that is reinforcing that sense of togetherness amongst your own people in Sudan. Please share with us.
Thank you again. It's a very difficult question. It's the question of Sudan as a whole.
Oh, it's not so difficult, really, but I'm going to give you that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I will attempt to do it. But just help me if I sway a bit here or there.
Okay.
But in reality, I come from the middle of Sudan. That's where I...
Yes.
In terms of ethnic community or ethnic commitment or affiliation,
okay.
Luckily, I lost that completely. I just lost it because in the center of Sudan, where all people were melting together, we lost this kind of tribal, you see, affiliation that I belong to this tribe or that tribe. It's very faint. If it's there, it's very faint. And in where I live in Jazeera, in the middle of Sudan, where the British actually established the largest agricultural scheme in Africa for planting cotton and supplying, you see, the factories here in Lancashire and in Britain for textile. That used to be actually the main source of Sudan national income. It would be over 90% of the national.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
So if you are, say, sharing, Sudanese by nature generally, they have no problem with sharing resources. They're so generous to each other and to others as well, and foreigners. So I believe if I understood your question rightly, yeah, I look at Sudan as all the resources, wherever it belongs to the whole people, and people have to share it. Unfortunately, the failure of our people there, they have not changed all the features and the essence of the colonial state. They have never changed that. Yes, springing from Jazeera scheme to rebuild, as earlier my colleague Hafiz said, that there was uneven development in Africa, in Sudan. That's a key issue. It's not just a bullet point. That's a key issue. And even means of development in Sudan created a lot of animosities between ethnic groups.
Yes.
And it led to taking arms in the south, in the west, in the east, everywhere. It has led to that because we haven't changed the structure imposed on us by the colonial. I'm not blaming them. I'm blaming ourselves for not changing us, because it's our role to change it, because we are interested in sharing these resources.
Can I just ask you very quickly in that case, I'm just conscious of time. You're right, changing the colonial structure. And you said what I thought you might say, that you're from the center of the country, where, of course, again, another aspect of Sudan is the incredible size of your arable land. And therefore, cotton, as you say, was 85, 90% of the export. And of course, oil and gold makes up a lot now, of course. But my point and my question to you, of course, is this. In being a part of Sudan, in which the various peoples have come together and their distinctiveness has been less important because there's a common desire to work and to live. Are there examples, lessons to be drawn from that experience that the rest of the country may benefit from? This is to you, Afis. Abdul, sorry. Abdul, sorry. This is to you, Abdul. Is there a lesson from your experience in the center of the country that the rest of the country can learn from? Okay. Because clearly you said that it's difficult because you don't have these differences, but clearly the differences exist. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the tension in the country. But what lessons can we draw from your experience that other parts of the country can benefit from?
First of all, to address these kind of things is actually to be aware of it. If you're not aware of these things, you cannot change them. You need to know first the root causes of these kind of things. There are places which are run down and poor, and there are places which are in a modern sector and so on. So I believe this is an issue of governance. And the governance in Sudan, as I said, since independence to date, is staggering. And now it's reached actually the bottom. It reached the bottom now because we are in war now. And instead of sharing resources, we are sharing atrocities.
Yes.
We are sharing disasters. We are sharing all those things, natural as well as human disasters. And that is not going to help. To help this, we've got to look at the reasons for that. One of them is an ongoing military rule for over 90% of Sudan independence period up to now.
Yes.
And those military people have never left us to develop democracy where we can observe the rights of each other, whether economically, legally, or socially. And that led to these injustices, social injustices. And these social injustices, as I said, led people to take arms. To share these resources is actually to rectify the issues, your problems in governance. And we need also a kind of a cultural unification in the sense that we have to have a kind of democracy and democratic cultural policies where people look, if I take the right of Justin to speak his own Dinka language and impose on him Arabic and make it a condition for him to move to higher education, then I'm denying him not only his rights, I'm denying him also his identity.
Indeed,
and
you are.
That is what led actually to the disintegration of Sudan now, and it will continue if we don't stop it now and observe it, admit it, and apologize to all ethnic groups that suffered from this kind of narrow-minded vision.
Praise be, praise be. Oh, I like talking to you. Oh, thank you. That's brilliant. That's a brilliant analysis. Can I now go to Hafiz again? I looked at your profile. Fascinating. You're clearly an intellectual powerhouse also, if I may say so. So it is interesting. It is interesting that a country with, as a percentage of the whole, levels of genius level residents is quite remarkable. You're not fully aware of it. The numbers of genius levels of Sudanese that I've come across is quite remarkable. And the ability to reason, to rationalize is quite remarkable, quite remarkable. Again, further evidence is you are the origin of mankind, humankind. Okay, so Hafiz, okay, I've heard what has been described by Abdul is the center of the country, and he understands what is required to secure the path to peace, to create wealth for all people of the Sudan. Okay, what is your analysis to the path for peace? Okay, what is it your people would need to give in order to gain more in return? Over to you.
Yeah, I think we have a country which actually very rich of oils, not only in not in one region, the whole country. Yes, there is some diverse in terms of resources and in terms of sources of income, but generally Sudan is a very rich country. I myself, I am from South Kordofan. I born and grew up in North Kordofan, which is used to be one state, Al Ubaid. And this country is cosmopolitan country. We people from all Sudan in this country. This the Al Ubaid was the market for gum Arabic, and the biggest market in Africa used to be for gum Arabic and oil seeds established by the Turkish before even the British colonial era. And that was the biggest market at that time. All people from different parts of Sudan, they came and they are merchants, they're working there, they become part of that. This is why when I grow up there, I have never known what tribe is this person, my neighbor, or I never asked him, and he never asked me. We are one people. Sudan is the only problem is we have a problem of managing uh, diversity in terms of ethnicity, tribal, and also in terms of resources. And also, the political elites normally, we've been from our 70 years of independence, we only have around 11 years with peace and less than 20 years of democracy. But most of the colonial most of the military government are actually driven by political ideology, and also at the same time they came and then they corrupt the system. And Sudan is a patronage system. It's now even this NCP regime, which is the state for 30 years, is patronage. It's actually they don't actually look after the people. They only look after their own crony. It's a system which is totally corrupt, and that's one of the reasons because they don't actually exploit the resources, because they have oil since 1999, and all these resources of oil, more than 90% of that oil is actually gone to the pocket of this political at that time. People actually impoverishing people and actually enriching themselves. Look at the gold. The gold, actually, the traditional gold mining is actually they actually polluting the area, using very toxic materials, killing, in fact, impacting the environment and the local people without them getting anything back. And this oil has been, this gold has been taken, smuggled some other countries, enriching them, increase their reserves, and Sudanese people are suffering the impact of that in terms of destruction to their livelihood and the impact. That is our problem. Our problem is mismanagement, is not resources. We have resources which is more than enough actually to allow people like 10 times of the Sudanese population to live in prosperity. But that is the problem. Our problem is mismanagement, is corruptions, and is this patronage system which has been running in Sudan since our independence. That is our problem.
Thank you. I'm almost out of time now, and if I may, give the last word to Justin from South Sudan. Okay. What would be the words that you want the audience to take away as being the key themes for them to rationalize that there is hope and the people of Sudan have a path to peace and prosperity? What are the words that you want them to have in their minds when they think about you and the path to peace and prosperity? Justin.
You have a way of giving us very hard questions.
Oh, not hard at all.
I'm reminded by Desmond Tutu, who said, "Humanity, my humanity is bound up in yours, for we can only be humans together."
Yes.
Now, if we're to look at that and bring it to the case of the Sudan, as Abdul Malik said and Hafiz said, we're looking and now it's the fact that we carry the same names. I'm actually been one of the advocates of the need for South Sudan to remove itself from the overburden of what the Sudan has been.
Right.
We need a new name and an intrinsic name
Absolutely.
that actually
Yep.
identifies with the people of the
Absolutely.
South.
Yeah.
We cannot obviously do away with historical commonalities. For even now, Sudan is at war. I think I mentioned to you yesterday, there's almost like 1 million Sudanese now in South Sudan. And every day there's like 2,000 arriving, and the door is open. This is their part of the world. With we feel that we have that historical bondage. But in saying that, when the Sudan was at peace,
Yes.
our biggest meddler was always the Sudan wanting to cause instability in South Sudan.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Yes.
we have also been accused because, as Hafiz said earlier, the movement, the SPLM, was constructed to liberate the whole Sudan. So there were pockets of communities in the southern blue, in the Nuba Mountains, and also the southern Blue Nile. That they were meant to be part and parcel of. They were fighting with us in arms, and they were meant to be part of a solution for the Sudan, but in the end they ended up being part of the Sudan, and the problems have not really been solved. But in saying that, there's a need for peace in both of our countries, there's a need to maybe look at what is it that has continuously caused perpetual warfare. And as Abdul Malik said, his governance is one, but I think it's the mismanagement of diversity. And because we've mismanaged diversity, we've got to re-image these countries in our own and have an African sense of real presence. And I really want to see, as Abdul Malik said, if Sudan has been a microcosm of Africa, it's got to be governed as a workable territory. And I think South Sudan and Sudan can re-emerge as territories that are stable, with new constructed nations that could possibly engulf and encourage other African countries to develop a similar model that is purely based on the people, with a social contract, with a governance system that recognizes, as you've said, the technocratic element of our society.
Yes.
Everything should not be left to politicians. We've got to engage professionals to run a lot of the sectors and run them effectively and well for the purpose of all our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a very useful overview and a good way to end part 2 of our dialogue.
Thank you.
I want to thank you all for describing the situation in Sudan, but also giving a path to peace. You see, that peace gives us hope for the future. And despite the enormous forces, external forces, that is being brought to bear upon Africa, and most certainly on the Sudan, the strength of the people is such that anything is possible. And with a shared vision, a shared purpose, you can and you will be successful. I wish you all well. Thank you for sharing your time with us this morning. But we'll have you back again. We want to keep and maintain an understanding, not through the international news media, but from yourselves, authentic voices of Sudan, sharing with us the facts and the details so that we are not misled by other foreign and other interests. Okay? Thank you all for your presence here today.
Thank you very much.
Good day to you.
Thank you.
Peace
Thank you very much.
Peace will be with you always. Thank you.
Peace be
Thank
with
you.
you too.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow. Now, that's an example of what we need to do to move forward. And it's quite clear that as we move forward together, that we can transform Africa. We can be part of that change process. And we will, because we have the will, we will be a part of that change process. I've got to say to you all that anything is possible. Anything is possible. And what these gentlemen have testified, that they are clear of what the future will be, because it is their will that will prevail, and not the interest of foreign nations or corporations. And that's the key message that we wanted to share with you today. It is the people's will that will prevail in the Sudans, both Sudan and South Sudan. Watch this space. Watch this space. You heard the word Ubuntu peace, understanding and appreciation, mutual respect, giving and taking. No one ethnic group shall so predominate so as to squeeze out the others. Oh, I see I haven't officially opened up the phone line, but I see that there's someone on the phone line. Can you hear us, caller? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Brother Julius, go to your way. Yes, yes, yes. Mm-hmm. Thank you, thank you. I hear you, and I would take that into account for future interviews. That as you know, I'm usually up against time, you see, but I hear you though. I hear you. Thank you for that intervention. Thank you, thank you. Okay. Yes, it is an interesting question. I'm going to think of you next time. Don't you worry, Brother Judas. Okay. Okay. My pleasure. Thank you for the call. Thank you for the call. Thank you for the call. All righty. I've only got a few minutes remaining now. And whilst that interview really provided some insight into the internal dynamics that is Sudan, what I hope the listeners have garnered is that Sudan, or the Sudans as it is now, are incredibly rich environment. The proliferation of natural resources that places like Britain, Germany, America, France, Spain, Belgium, Holland requires, China requires, in order to use for the technological development is enormous. Yeah, the gold reserves, the oil reserves, absolutely enormous. The lithium reserves, absolutely enormous. And as a consequence, it therefore means that such a country should be able to feed all its people easily. It is now in the international interest to promote peace across the continent of Africa and not allow the hubris-driven multinational corporations to dictate what happens in these countries. Because that is the current significant bugbear at the moment. and in addition to some other nation states who traditionally wish to promote division amongst the people for divide and rule purposes. But setting those nation states aside, it is the people that have the will and the way to overcome these obstacles so they can transform the Sudans, and they will create peace so they can create wealth for now and their children's and their children's children. Nditi's words continue. I'm going to put her words back up on the screen because I believe Nditi's words are really so powerful. There we go. I'm just going to share it again with you very quickly. Just want to make sure it's understood. And here it is. Put Nditi's word back on the screen. Nditi said, given the state of Nigeria, or indeed Africa, or indeed the Caribbean, I think people haven't yet made the mental link that they are responsible for the kind of existence they hand over to their children. Oh yeah, profound, huh? Absolutely profound. And therefore, reparations begins with self. I reiterate, reparations begins with self. Self-repair is the theme. Self-repair is the theme. So now, what I want to do is now move forward until the next strong. I remain and am the motivator. Take care until the next strong. Please spread the word. If you're on YouTube, spread the word. Please give us a like, a thumbs up, or subscribe. It's for free. It simply gives the YouTube algorithms a reason to direct further audiences to the Motivator Show. Please spread the words. The Motivator Show. The internet's most inspirational podcast. Every Saturday morning from 8 to 10 a.m. The Sudans. North Sudan, capital, Khartoum. South Sudan, capital, is Juba. Sudan and South Sudan peace talks to overcome governance, poor and myopic corruption, the control of oil, religion, to promote peace, new constitution, and the control of land. The many casualties of war, more than 800,000 Sudanese refugees, mainly women and children, lived in Sudan before fighting broke out there last month. North Sudan's warring generals, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, Sudan Armed Forces, General Mohammed Hamadan Daglo, Rapid Support Force leader. The SAF and RSF used to be allies, but that changed after they overthrew a civilian reform government in October 2021. The RSF commander sees himself as Sudan's rightful dictator, while the SAF generals believe they are the true government. Sudan's natural resources. Sudan possesses enormous untapped oil reserves, vast gold deposit to rival South Africa, the world's largest producer of gum, a key ingredient used in food and beverages, pharmaceuticals and cosmetics, enormous lithium deposit used in batteries worldwide, extensive arable land, making agriculture a vital sector. The country is known for producing crops such as sorghum, millet, wheat, and cotton. The Sudan's natural resources. Weak governments leave both countries vulnerable to foreign interference. Multinational corporations and state-funded entities are actively seeking to secure contracts with minimum tax and minimum regulations. The Sudan's path to peace and prosperity for all. On The Motivator Show, we'll host a panel of North and South Sudan social and political experts to debate how to beat the foreign-inspired bribery, corruption, ethnic division, religious divides, social class elitism, regionalism. It will be done. The Motivator Show. Success is ours for the taking. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. Press the like button and don't forget to leave a comment. Follow us on Facebook. Give us the thumbs up and share with your family and friends. We are also on Instagram and TikTok. Follow us there too. You can listen to us on galaxy.net and also Mixcloud too.